Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for You Asked For It Budget Crafting Week 3. And today I was requested by Linda Giles to make a hole jig for bookbinding or, journals or notepads or whatever you want to put together yourself, but not made out of cardboard. So we are going to make one and we're going to make it out of acetate. It will last longer and the holes won't get a lot of times with cardboard or even with paper, the holes get a little bit bigger and jagged, and so they're not exactly where you want them. The acetate will kind of hold them in place much longer. And it's simple to do. So where do I get my acetate? This was just a package. It had something in here, and I just cut around the edges to get that out, and now I have 2 pieces of acetate. And then I just cut off, because this has a bit of a lip on it, I just cut around the edges so that I have a flat piece, and I toss them in a drawer. So I have all sorts of pieces of acetate that I have cut apart. So to start with, we need one straight edge, and obviously these are going to be really hard to see, but I don't have any of these are not straight edges. We're going to get some glare today too, and there's nothing I can do about that. All right, so what we're going to want to do to start with is we're going to want to try and have, I'm going to start with this end. We're going to want to get a straight edge so that we can make a rectangle that is actually a rectangle and not, skewed at all. So I'm just going to cut one end, because once you cut that one end, you now have a straight edge. And if you put that straight edge up against your guide on your cutter, that will hold it straight. So then I'm just going to go over just far enough so that I'm going to cut this whole edge straight. This is a lot wider than this, so this is the point that I need to get off the edge of the cutter. And just make sure that there's a little bit of plastic sticking off the edge. Down here there's quite a bit of plastic, but you want to make sure there's plastic sticking off the edge the whole way. Make sure that you're pressed up nice and straight and tight against the top there. Hold tight because the acetate might want to slip, and then cut. Okay, so now we have our second side done. So you take that straight side and turn it. Remember to keep your straight sides up at the top. You don't want to go to this side over here that's not straight and cut an end, because then you'll be in trouble. Now, I make all of my books about 8.5 inches. And so I'm going to just make this jig 8.5 inches. And sometimes I make them 8 3/4, but it's not going to make that much of a difference. So we're going to cut that piece. And now we've got this straight edge. We're going to turn that, and we're going to come over here. Now, the width of this doesn't make any difference. It's as wide as my packaging is. So if can I get 4 inches so that, nope, I can't get 4 inches because I'm very off down here. So we're just going to go, it's about 3 3/4 inches. Doesn't matter so long as I can get a nice straight side. Okay, so now we have a nice straight rectangle, and we can put our cutter aside. And then what we're going to do is just slowly and carefully, we are going to take the long side, we're going to take the corners, and we are going to place them together, make sure that they're lined up really nicely, and give it a press right there. And press it for maybe about 1 inch or so while you've got that held together. Then we're going to move down a little bit, make sure that we keep our edges lined up, and again, give it a press. Like that, and we're going to do that. And then we're going to come down here and make sure that we've got these 2 corners lined up, and give it a press, and kind of come in a little bit, making sure you've got the flat part lined up. Then we're going to kind of come to the middle, making sure that we're lined up there. Kind of go both ways. And then we're just going to kind of look at the whole thing, make sure that it's straight, and then we're just going to press the whole thing down. If you have a bone folder, you can use that. If you don't have a bone folder, which I don't have one here right now, you can use anything that you have that's kind of smooth. and just give it a nice press. Just give it a really good rub. Flip it over and do the same thing. And you're going to have a really nice pressed line in your jig. So there we go. Now we have this jig here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the spot for my holes. Open it up just a little bit. And it doesn't matter if it's opened or closed or whatever. And I'm not so sure how long, if you fold it flat to put it away, which you can, if you constantly open it and close it and open it, it may eventually, just like a piece of wire, you know, it may wear. But it's still going to last you quite a long time. And it's a piece of packaging acetate. You can always make another one if you have to later. So I'm going to open it up a little bit. And I'm going to take my ruler. So what I like to do is, I'm going to open it up even a little bit more so that you can see a little better. I like to come down on my books. I like to come down 1 inch from each end, and that there is no right or wrong. You can do it whatever you like. Some people like 1/2 inch. Some people like 3/4. I just like 1 inch. I don't know why. So I'm going to come in. Here's my inch mark. And in the fold, I'm just going to put a little black dot there. I'm going to come over here. This is 8.5 inches long. So I'm going to come up to 7.5 inches. And I'm going to put, whoops. Now that's not good because I need to know where my dot is, where my dot needs to, or my hole needs to go. So I'm going to kind of bring it up this way a little bit so I know that that is where it goes, not just somewhere on that line I accidentally made. Alrighty, so we know that it's 8.5 inches. So we're going to go to 4.25 is going to be our center. So we're just going to go to 4.25 and put a dot there. So now we have a dot where we need to put our holes, and we're going to just take a phone book or any book or any magazine. We are going to cradle this in. Now I'm going to fold it back a little bit tighter and cradle this in here. And then I am going to show you a cheap, these come from Harbor Freight, and they come in a 4-pack. We've got like an L. We've got one with a kind of funny end on it. And then we've got kind of a hook. And there is a straight one, which I don't know where it is. Oh, wait a minute. Ha! It's right here. And I get these, that's like a 4-pack of alls or whatever they call them. I don't know. But at Harbor Freight, and I usually get them when they're on sale for $1.99. So you don't have to go spend a whole bunch of money. I got this as a gift from someone, but I know that if you get these craft store alls, they can be kind of expensive. You know, they can be like, I don't know, $5-10. And to me, that's just kind of, you know, you don't need it. And these ones actually do come in handy. Sometimes if you're using double-sided tape and you're trying to get that backing off once you put the tape down, these work really nice to grab the edge of that tape and pull it up and that type of thing. So these ones actually do come in handy. Even though you're just looking for an awl, you get these as a bonus, and it's cheaper than the others. So we're going to just take this and put it into our book, and then we're just going to find our spot there, and we're just going to push through it, give it a couple of twists, find our next spot, and push through that. Now, if these are not exact, let's say I got off just a little bit, it doesn't matter. We are going to mark the top of this. I'm going to come to this one right here and mark that where I put that bit of an extra line, so I know that's about 1 inch. Okay, now I'm going to go through and just make sure that I actually put it in there, make sure that I actually went through the plastic. Okay, and then we're going to mark the top. The thing is, let's say this one is a 1/16 of an inch short of 1 inch, and this one is 2/16 of an inch longer. If you flip this around as you're poking holes in your papers, it will make a difference. So you want to mark the top of your jig so that as you punch your papers, you always put the top at the top. And remember, when you're setting your papers down also, to put them top side up, or put a little T with pencil so that you know what is the top side in case you get distracted. So now we have our holes. Now, for me, I usually just kind of take my marker and just kind of go around the holes a little bit. It just helps me to see them easier. And so you don't have to do that. This is a permanent marker. It will mark on acetate and it will stay there. If you mess it up and you want to get rid of it, like if I wanted to get rid of those extra lines or whatever, rubbing alcohol, because this is acetate, we're not going to ruin it. Rubbing alcohol will take permanent marker off of pretty much anything. But just be careful if you're doing it on, you know, something that it may, like you wouldn't want to do it on your regular furniture. And so there we go. So now we have a little black circle there around each of the holes so that we know where they're at. It's just easy to see them. So now I have a signature here, and I am going to, this is the front, so that means that's the top. And we're going to try and punch through all of these at the same time. I'm going to stick them in the phone book, which we are going to use like as a book press. We're going to just line this up because my pages are 8.5 and this is 8.5. I can just line that up. Just hold on to it. If you want to, you can use a clip. These clips come from the Dollar Tree, and I just saw some the other day, so they do still have them. And so normally I clip it down on that bottom, and then I come up here and do this side, making sure that you've got that all pressed together nicely. And then if you really want to, you can, I normally just do the two. Now I do have in my signature, I have a doily and it's sticking out here a little bit. So I didn't even check. You want to check before you put your holes in and make sure everything is where you want it. And also, this doily is upside down. So I'm going to flip that over. And I just have some of my paint dyed, and this is Kool-Aid dyed. And then also this one here, this one is actually clay dyed. I took some red clay from my daughter's house in Oklahoma and dyed some papers with it. I thought that they would come out red, but they didn't. They came out kind of brown, but I love the looks of how it turned out. And I think that was because there was like rocks in it, kind of. And so were all those little rocks where it made those beautiful, beautiful markings on there. So you can dye your paper with anything you want to. I have fun trying to find different things to dye my paper with. Okay, so again, this is my top. I know that because of my signature, and I know it because my doily is now the right side up. Correct? Yes. I had to cut off the bottom because it was a little too long. That's why it has a right side and a wrong side. All right, so I'm going to press that down in there and put this here. Then go down kitty corner. And put one down there. There we go. Make sure it's pressed in tight. If you want to do 4, then you just come in and put one here. And again, making sure that it's all held together. Put one there. Then we're going to put it back in our phone book, which works as a book cradle. And we're going to hold tight. We can see where our hole is because we've got that black mark. Without that black mark, let me show you. It would be hard to find that hole in the plastic. So we're going to just hold that in there. Go in the center of that black mark. Give it a push. And give it a push. And the final one, just give it a push. Now, how many pages did I do? I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages plus the doily. Went through there just fine. We now have our holes, and I do have a cover. Now, I could have, actually just done the whole thing, I'm sure it would have went through, but I just wanted to show you because we know that this is the top, and we know that which way our book goes, so I'm going to set that aside, and especially if you have more than one signature. Now, my book is just a touch longer than 8.5 inches, literally like 2/8 of an inch, so I'm going to just center that. I'm just going to hold it in there. And give it a press, give it a press, and give it a press. And there we go. So now this is our top. We're going to put this signature in here, and I will show you how. I like a 3-hole stitch. There are 5-hole stitches. There's all different sorts of them. 3-hole is my favorite. It's easy, and I just like the way it works. Now, I could have left these clipped together. I could have just moved the clip out and then taken the jig off to keep it lined up, but I didn't do that, so too late now. So I'm just going to go through that center hole. They did stay lined up nicely, and then go through the center hole of my book. So for a 3-hole stitch, whatever way you start, that is where your tie will be. So if you want your tie on the outside, then you start on the outside. I like mine in the middle, so I'm just going to go through the middle hole. Then it doesn't matter if you do top or bottom. We're just going to go through the top hole. Look how nicely that lined up. That doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it shifts or something. You're not supposed to pull the thread all the way through. So we'll have to do that again. Go through the middle hole. Hold on to your thread. Go through your top hole, which now I'm just making a mess of it, but that's all right. Go through the top hole. Make sure you don't pull that out. Okay, now we're going to leave a couple inch tail there so that we can tie it when we're done. Then we are going to go hold your tie out of the way, go underneath the thread, back through that hole, and hold that tail so that it doesn't pull through with the thread. Then we're going to come down here to the bottom, go through there, and find my hole there. Wait, hold on a minute. I need to put my glasses on because I can't see. So my hole's like my book moved, so I'm going to find my hole here and just make sure, yeah. Okay, so that came right through where it was supposed to. Okay, then find my tail. There we go. Now make sure before you tie it, make sure that you've got your thread nice and tight on the back. We're going to just come up here. Now this is what we're going to tie to. We want this one. We don't just want to tie these together because it will look kind of funny. We want our tie to stay right in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go underneath that top one. And now we can just tie them together. And that bottom one stays nice and tight. I usually just do 2 or 3 knots. And this thread is just crochet thread. It is not, what's the other one? It's not embroidery floss, but you could use embroidery floss if you want to, but sometimes the threads, the different segments start to come apart on the embroidery thread, where crochet thread is all tight together. And then I'm just going to cut those off at the same length, or maybe that one is that length. I'm going to cut this one a little bit longer so that if I put something on the end of them, they're at different heights. So there we go. That is how that works. And now I just have a naked journal here that I can do something with, but you can use this to put together pads of paper to take with you. And let's say you don't want something this big. You want a pad of paper that you're going to take with you. So if you want something smaller, you just make a jig for that size. A lot of times I will use the same jig for more than one size booklet. And the way that I do that, let's see if I have something solid here to, I don't know if that's going to help any. But so what I do is this, to kind of flatten it out, is my center. I already know that. Let's say I want to make a bunch of 4-inch books. So what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, if my book is 4 inches, that means that 2 inches will be the center. We know that because my book's 4 inches. So then I'll take a marker and I'll say, okay, I normally like to come in 1 inch, but on a 4-inch book, I don't want a hole at 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches with a whole inch on each end. So I'm going to say, okay, I think for the 4-inch book, whoops, that's where your rubbing alcohol it'll wash that off. Okay, I'm going to come in 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put a dot at 1/2 inch. It's a 4-inch book. So I'm going to put a dot at 3.5 inches. And then I'm just going to go in. Fold it back up, put it right down in there, and put a hole here and here. So there we go. Now we know that that is going to do a 4-inch book. And in order to not confuse ourselves, or so I don't confuse myself, I make that a different color. So again, I want to be able to see my hole, so I'm going to mark around it. And so that I don't forget that I need to punch a hole in the center also, then I just go ahead and put a bit of red around there too. So I'll know that I need those 3 holes for the red. I need this one, and this one for the black, or for a 4-inch and an 8.5. And then normally what I do too is just put 4-inch in red so that I know that's 4 inches, because let's say I also want to do one for a 5-inch book. This is going to be my center, and I'm going to have some holes here and here. Maybe I'll do those in green or blue or something, and then I would write 5 inches in green or blue. So that is how you make a jig for your hole punches. If you want a 5-hole punch, you just make a jig with where you want your 5 holes to be. If you want, you know, I don't know, 2 or 6 or whatever you may want, you just put your holes in. Again, I like to mark them so that you can see them, but they work really well and they do store easy. I had one at one point in time, but I lost it. So that is our jig for binding a book. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. We are going to do a book cradle at some point also that I was requested to do. So, and I'm doing them in this series because it's where they were requested. You don't just have to use them for journals, and this is our kind of our building type series, plus the fact of in our journaling series, I am not going to bind my book this way, and so I figured there was no need to do this in that series because I wouldn't be binding that journal like I just bound this one because it's different. So, but there we go. There is a very easy jig. Didn't take very long at all. Works really well. Lasts much longer than cardboard. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.